Okay, so this is the last step. Hope you've been enjoying it. But this is where we ignite the fire. We add fuel to the fire. And the fuel is the other principles we mentioned, like overcoming fear, right? Facing the facts, having faith beyond the circumstances, and pulling in an incredible amount of focus despite your problems. And once we add all those elements up, now we add fuel to the fire. We ignite the fire with those elements. And once we ignite the fire, it goes whoosh, and it begins to impact your life because you think differently, therefore you act differently. Because once you change the roots, you change the fruit by igniting that fire with these elements. So a good example of this is Robert Downey Jr. Right, Robert Downey Jr. Is an incredible actor, but his life didn't start out that way. Right, his father taught him drug abuse at a young age, and that was the way they bonded. So Robert Downey Jr. was at a point in his life where it was just difficult. Right, he was hooked on drugs, in and out of jail, and um, he said it. But it all started with that's how his dad expressed love with him was through drugs. So he actually had a quote that said, "Drugs to him was like having the barrel of a shotgun in his mouth, right? And he loved the taste of metal, right? That's how he felt about drugs." So he had a good start to his career in acting, but it was plagued with drugs, right? And he had to continually overcome the obstacles, like I just mentioned, the fear, having the hard facts, right? He had to face those obstacles, and he had to learn from them. So it took him a while, right? But what ended up happening is he went to jail several times, and he said he got beat up by his cellmate so bad that he was laying there in a pool full of his own blood. And so he overcame the different obstacles and issues, and it was finally when he had a great girlfriend in 2003. He had before then he had got kicked off of Ally McBeal, one of a very successful show because of his drug addiction. But he met his girlfriend, and she told him that I'll marry you if you kick this drug habit. So he ended up investing in himself as far as taking the 12 steps to drug addiction. He ended up taking yoga and martial arts, and this changed his life. And he ended up landing one of the most important acting roles ever, which is Iron Man, right? And he's been playing Iron Man for 10 years, right? So he used all of that, all of his experience of drug addiction and going to jail and all these negative experiences. He put that in the fire, right? He put that in the fire, his fear, his the facts of him being a drug addict, the facts of all these different elements. He put that in the fire, right? And out of that came Iron Man, one of the greatest comic books and one of the greatest movie roles of all time. He was the starring actor because he faced the facts. He had faith despite all the situations he had been through, despite all the negative, he had faith, and then he he focused, right? He focused on that role, mastering that role, and he put all that in the fire, and out came Iron Man, literally, right? Literally, out came Iron Man, who And there's a story in the movie where he had to face the fire too. That was one of uh, the opening roles, and he faced fire many times in the movie. So what am I saying, right? We all have a way that we can our face the fire, right? We either face the fire or we run from it, right? We either face it or we run from it. There's no in between. So he faced this fire, and from the different elements, he came out as Iron Man. Literally, he came out as Iron Man. Another story like that is Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan, excuse me, Michael Jordan was retired, and Brian Russell came to him and said, and Brian Russell played for the Utah Jazz, right? Brian Russell came to him one day and said, "Why'd you retire? Why'd you retire? Man, you know I could lock you down in basketball. You know I could uh, defend you. You know I can stop you." And Michael Jordan was like, "What? I am one of the best players of all time. Are you serious? I'm one of the leading scorers of all time. Are you serious right now?" And Brian Russell was like, "Yeah, I can shut you down. Like, you lucky you retired, right?" And so Michael Jordan had the faith, right? He faced the facts, right? He like it's a fact that I'm one of the greatest players of all time. That's what Michael Jordan was thinking, right? So he went through that process, and eventually he came back out of retirement, and he was playing against the Utah Jazz for the NBA championship. And he said before the tip off, right before that ball went in the air and the game began, he told Brian Russell, "Remember that time when I was retired, and you told me that um, that you would shut me down? Well, you about to get your chance today, right?" And so throughout that series, Michael Jordan had the flu, right, and he was unstoppable, right? With the flu, he went to the sidelines and he was extremely exhausted. They had to put um, they had to ice his head down, right? Um, and he had the towel on his head, and he was so exhausted that he just like leaned to the side and it flew off, right? That's how exhausted he was. But like he told Brian Russell, you about to get your opportunity, right? Because you added fuel to my fire with me coming back out of retirement. You added that fuel. So Brian Russell, one of the last games of that series, and this was right before. So one of the last games of that series, Brian Russell had the chance to guard Michael Jordan, right, and prove his point. And it was a close game, and this was a defining moment in that game and in that series. And this was for the Bulls to win the championship, right? This moment, right? Whatever happened in this moment, Brian Russell was going to be able to say, "Hey, I shut you down," to win the championship. And Michael Jordan was going to be able to prove the, the opposite. So, Michael Jordan gets the ball. He Brian Russell is guarding him. He crosses him over, right? He dribbles to the other side. Brian Russell flies the other way. Now the question is, did MJ push him or not? Right? That's the question. Um, but however, whether he pushed him or not, he 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 crossed him over, and Michael Jordan hit the game-winning shot on him to win the series. Right? And this was one of his last games as a Chicago Bull. Right? So he made history off of a comment that Brian Russell made while he was retired. Right? Michael Jordan let that fuel him to the point where it became a defining moment in both of their careers. That moment is one of Michael Jordan's top moments, right? And it all started with a conversation that added fuel to Michael Jordan's situation and fire as he was um, returning from retirement and as he played Brian Russell in that championship game. So, what am I saying? Right? What I'm saying is that we can use these principles of I'm sorry, not Brian Russell. He got the game when the shot hit on him, right? But of Michael Jordan, of Robert Downey Jr., right? And we can add fuel to our fire. So, questions for you: how are you going to add fuel to your fire? What situation has frustrated you in the past, or is frustrating you right now, right? In your health, attitude, love life, and finances, right? What situation has frustrated you, right? And how are you going to use all these different elements that we mentioned to add fuel to your fire and let it propel you like it propelled Michael Jordan to hit that game-winning shot and win an NBA championship, right? How are you going to let it propel you? On on however small or big the goal is, it doesn't matter, right? What matters is how are you gonna use that challenge, right? What if COVID-19 was happening for you and not against you, right? What if every bad situation in life that you perceived as bad was happening for you and not against you, right? Every negative comment someone could say to you, every negative experience. All right, so answer those questions, and I'm excited for you. Like I said, I'm a loan officer, so we have the best deals. So if you're interested in improving your finances by purchasing or refinancing a home, I have a link below. Or if you want to learn the mortgage business, right? If it's a great business, you don't need experience, right? But if you want to take it to a different level, your finances to a different level, and make it's $1 trillion industry, um, which is an article I read with LendingTree, $1 trillion industry. So real estate is the biggest industry there is. Mortgages is a huge industry. So if you want to finally light that fuel to the fire and take it to a different level, right? Click the link below and let's do that, right? This is your shot. This is your opportunity, right? Despite whatever you've been through, this is your shot, all right? So I look forward to speaking with you, me or one of my staff members. And yeah, I'm excited to help you excel and be that fuel to that fire and add in the other elements. And no one can make you, but with the right principles, you can take it to a different level. I promise you. All right? Thanks, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Thank you.